And but mistakes are not bad. It's how you respond to them. Because sometimes we overestimate our capabilities, right? It's also good in setting goals. We say stretch goals. I always remember one of my first experiences. We were working on a project with one of the major oil and gas, but they didn't like us. So what they did was think about an application that needs maybe 50 gig of RAM and they give you 1 gig. The project was killed and they made sure that, in fact, about a year after that, when we got another project, we got a letter of intent, which was to say invitation to treat, and we still didn't get the project.
So I noticed that you have several certifications. If people talk about, oh no, you just need the experience and all that, can you talk about how important certifications are? And not just certifications, but adding value to yourself in a way that you have a documentation for it. Hi everyone, my name is Hannah and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be talking about project management and just the journey of it all from the lens of my friend here, Adedeji. So I'll start by allowing Adedeji to introduce himself and also to talk about how he got into project management.
Hi everyone, it's a pleasure to be here, and Anna, thanks for inviting me to have this conversation. So my name is Adedeji Oyedele, and since we're talking about project management, I'm PMP certified, which is like the gold standard for project managers, right? And then I'm also a discipline agile Scrum Master.
Okay.
And I'm a discipline agile senior Scrum Master. The discipline agile is PMI's approach to agile delivery.
Okay.
Right. And then I'm also for enterprise delivery. I'm certified in SAFe, product owner, product manager, and I'm also a SAFe agilist. Right. So into
That's a certification.
project management. Well, of course, we need to as professionals, you have to continuously, develop yourself and expose. So I've done a bit of development and I'm doing more, right? So right now, next month, I have to write my value stream consultant certification, which is like the highest in that. So I'll be preparing for it. Well, it's
all the best.
Thank you. So we're talking about how did I get into project management. I'll tell you I have to tell you stories to get you there, right?
I want to hear the story.
So I studied accountancy.
Okay.
That was my foundation where I started. And my dream had always been to work in consulting or, advisory services. Okay. And luckily I was posted to Lagos, which is where you have most of the HQs. Right? So I was hoping that I would get into one of the big four, right? But getting to camp, I studied accountancy, right? Like I said. So, and from the Polytechnic. So getting to camp, it was a bit more difficult if you have an HND than if you had a BSc. So I struggled to get. The only options I had at the time were to go work at Deloitte. But that was then to go work as an accountant. Even though I studied accountancy, like I said jokingly to you earlier, I always say jokingly that I went to school to study accountancy, but I actually started learning accounting when I got my first job.
Yeah.
Right. So I wasn't very excited about taking on an accounting role earlier, that the options I had were very limited. I couldn't do a KPMG, I couldn't do a PwC at the time, right? So Accenture was, out of the way. So I only had Deloitte, and Deloitte for me was to go do audit work. I wasn't interested, right? So while I was in camp, my uncle reached out and said, "Oh, I know you used to work for MTN at the time." So he said, "Oh, there's this training company that trains for us. They do consulting and they need an accountant." So even though I wasn't excited about accounting, but hearing consulting, got me interested. So I was like, okay, I'm interested. Brabola. So Brabola introduced me to the country manager and we got on well.
Okay.
So I was interviewed and then I was given the job. Unfortunately for me, it was full accounting work that I was asked to do. Unfortunately. So, and when I say unfortunately, remember I said that I played a lot in school because I didn't like accounting per se. Okay? So yeah, I'm sure you're going to ask me, so why did you do accounting when you do? Well, it was I wrote my JAMB, And then, that was, the option available for me at that time. And then I just didn't press on, at that time. So, but it was okay, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. But because I was interested in consulting, I, got into Procept, and it was a good environment. But I think I enjoyed the first few weeks. I think I enjoyed like the first month, really.
Okay.
Then towards the end of the month, the director of African operations, who I was supposed to report to, came into country, and we had a sit down. And the man says, okay, yeah, you studied accounting in Polytechnic, you are usually better, you have hands on. So we have backlog of accounts, like 2 years.
Okay.
That we need you to bring up to speed. And then he gave me all this, bank accounts, vouchers. But because I wanted to be in that environment, I made up my mind that I will do this.
Okay.
Right. So I started, putting the books together, even though I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Of course. So I went online. Google was my friend. This was 2007. So yeah, I sat down there, spent a lot of time researching, trying to understand. And I put in my energy, actually. So I put in my energy, and I was able to put the books together. So I sent it to Shola, my boss. And he says, oh, thank you. I love what you've done. But a few days later, I got another email, right? That was like, what you have done is nonsense. Of course, because I didn't really know, I didn't have to, so because you see, accounting theory is different from the practical, right? So you can learn all the T format, all of that. But really what we're doing here is we're taking source transactions and taking it to final account. So I'm taking transactions that happened, an invoice, a payment, a check. I mean, taking all of that information. So I didn't understand, even though we learned sales day book, purchase day book, and all of those things, but it was now bringing it all together, right? And there was no structure for you to work with. So anyway, Shola came back. We had to sit down, and Shola is a consultant, like very structured, person, right? So it was like, okay, DG, how do we solve this problem? Because he said, see, I've been here, I've seen you. I like the way you work. You're very like committed. I can see the commitment, but it's just that the result is not showing.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then we agreed and we said, you know what, we're going to bring somebody, an experienced accountant, who was like one of our auditors at the time, to work with you over a period of time. So we agreed. The business paid for it, and then he came in, and because I was hungry, right, within a very short period, I had mastered what I needed to do. So, yeah, do your journals, take it to your GL, from your GL, take it to your control account, and then extract your trial balance, and then you do what? Then your P&L income statement and all of that. So I had kind of, learned and mastered that. So then, like I said, he was a consulting firm, and that was what took me there. So I kept dipping on him. I want an opportunity. And Procef is focused on project management, business analysis, and ITIL. That was their core at that time. So we were doing advisory work in those spaces. So because the question is, how did I get into project management? So Shola himself is a project manager. Shola Oduko is his name. Like project manager. His life is projectized. Like everything is like, right? Is that kind of person. So I learned a lot. Number one, I mean, this is this meticulous person. He wants things done in a certain way. He has expectations. We do basic things like maybe even while I was there serving, because I was like the youngest in the office. So we're trying to recruit maybe even a GM. At the time, we were trying to recruit a GM. I was part of, you will do the dirty work. Like, okay, you're like, okay, work on the profiles, work on this. It will give you that guidance. No, you use this font, you use this. So it was very detailed. So I would say that, honestly, he kind of also got me interested, because remember, I didn't go there for project management.
Yeah, you went for
I went for consulting. So, and then when I had the first opportunity to be on site, and it was a re-engineering project where the business was struggling, and then they needed to restructure their business, and they wanted to understand capability of job holders. They wanted to understand comparison between what they were paying and what the market was paying.
Okay.
And they wanted to review their old structure to deliver their strategy at the time. So it was a very good way to start. So and I remember that assignment, and that was my first real hands-on practical project management experience. So we go to site, we meet with the CEO, we review the brief, and the guy says, yes, okay, yes, I want you to just limit to my direct report. So defining the scope, clarifying the scope, we start from there. And then getting to the kickoff meeting, which was nice. So it was my first kickoff meeting, and then, Shola had done all these slides, then we sat there, and then, why are we here? What problem are we solving?
Yeah.
And what's our approach? So very detailed. Okay, what's our approach? How are we going to deliver this? And so talking about what's in it for you, what's in it for me, what am I doing? Why are you here? Right? Okay. Risk assessment, what can go wrong, right? And we did all of that, and then bringing it all together. Let's get to consensus. Who's going to support? So that was for me learning, right?
Yeah.
And then the continuous, weekly reporting, the documentation. So that was like my first hands-on, and I really enjoyed it. So, and however, after that, they refused to allow me do more consulting work. Even though I got a bonus for that project, by the way, I got a bonus because it was a good project and I put in. But my boss was like, yes, you do well as a consultant, but that
We're only in account.
yes, I would be invested a bit, so we want you to be there. But honestly, at that point, I feel management accounting, there are other interesting things, financial analysis, but basic accounting,
Yeah.
taking transactions is like a bean counter. It's very, very, very tiring, and I'm restless like that. If I master something, I want to move. So I didn't know my mind I was going to move. So then I looked for another consulting company. And for that role, it was like the business consultant role, which was also project management, really. Because what I was doing there was working with a startup that was focused on building a solution for small businesses. So my role there was to manage the team. So they had a software team that was doing the development work, no business analyst. So my job was BA project management together, like requirements gathering, clarification, and then execution. So delivery both internally and with the client. So and that I always remember one of my first experiences. So we're working on a project with one of the major oil and gas, and I don't want to mention the name because it's not a very good experience. But they were one of the largest oil and gas. So I was sent to sites. We had built our solution and we're pitching to them that it could help. SharePoint was a thing, but this was around 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
And SharePoint was just coming out like a big thing. So what we had built was, we called it Rendezvous. It was a solution that will help you integrate into your line of business systems. Like maybe you had your financial system, your CRM and everything.
Yeah.
And we'll then expose everything on SharePoint.
Okay.
So they were good candidates. And since we're talking about project management, and this is about stakeholder management. So, and that's how I got my experience. That's why I'm taking you through this story.
Yeah.
So I went to that site. In my life, I'd never heard about VM before.
Okay.
At that
virtual machine.
I'd never heard about a virtual machine. So I get to this client site. They provide me a box where we were going to install our application. I brought my engineer, and then the lead there was like, oh, we have to set up a VM. And I'm like, what's a VM? He looked at me like I was very stupid, At that point, he's there disliking me, like, I would say, but I really did not know.
Yeah.
Right? So we started that project, and it was a pilot project. It was supposed to just be demonstrating our capability, but like in a real life situation, not really a POC. But they didn't like us. Right? They didn't like us. And they
Caused by you?
not just not just caused by me. Right? I think mine was an addition, right? It was my boss. Because my boss was sitting with the CEO and the COO of that particular oil and gas. So they used to drink, they were bare buddies, and they used to drink together, hang out together. They were friends. So these conversations where you've had a conversation, I have this solution, like, oh yeah, my company will use it. So he also came into the conversation with a certain
level of expectation.
Not even expectation. Permit me to say a bit of arrogance.
Oh.
He's not an arrogant person, but that superiority, I'm talking to your boss, is like going on there. And the guys on the floor didn't like that. So what they did was, think about an application that needs maybe 50 gig of RAM and they give you 1 gig, like, to process.
Okay, okay. So in project management, from their own end, did they have someone checking?
No, it's intentional. They were not interested because as a project manager, number one, you have to understand your stakeholders and manage them, right? Where I will take part of the photos as an inexperienced project manager in an enterprise environment, I was just going there like a task executor.
Oh, have we done this? Have we done
We
this?
done
Have we
that.
done- Oh,
I wasn't spending
yeah.
the effort and the time to build a
Yeah,
relationship,
yeah,
to understand what's in it for them. Why are they doing this? How is this going to affect them?
yeah.
So anyway, after they stressed me out for a few days and nothing worked, they frustrated, the application didn't run because we didn't have enough resources. So I went to my boss and I said, these guys are not serious. This is not running, blah, blah, blah. She says, don't worry, don't worry. He sends an email to their boss. I think it was a Friday. Yeah, it must have been a Friday because so Monday morning, we resumed in that place. It was hell. Right? So they were trying to like prove that we were not competent. So they said asking questions. But my boss, I mean, was very solid. This is somebody with over 20 years of experience working internationally. So and he was a solid person. So they said asking him, what are SharePoint fans? What are this? They were just trying to discredit the team. So when they saw that, you can't, this guy is obviously miles like he knows his onions. So then they kept okay, they said, okay, no problem, we'll continue. So we continued the pilot. Then they gave us exactly what happened the previous week.
Okay.
Now, at that point, what we should have done, what he should have done, should have been to come to their level and say, guys, how do we work together? Right?
Yeah.
See, this is what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
But he still didn't do that. So I escalated to him again that we're not getting cooperation.
And you two were not doing that.
I also was not
With
doing that
them,
because
yeah.
today, in that situation, nothing will ever get to my boss. Nothing will get. So the project manager, it's your site, right? It's your project. You manage your project. You manage your stakeholders. You build your relationships.
Yeah.
You understand that environment. So I didn't know that at that time. But it was also very experienced. So what did he do? He now escalated the second time. And 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we didn't hear anything. So later, he now had drinks with his guys again. So we then now told him that, see, as my president, this is the issue. We'll do this thing next year. We now showed him the email. You know what the guys did? They allowed, then they just came back and said, dear sir, thank you for, we apologize for whatever. We're going to support the vendor. However, bear in mind that SharePoint is not part of our KPIs or priorities for the current year. But since this request is coming from you, sir, we're very happy to take it on. However, we would like you to review our KPIs and
To include it.
and move these other priorities to next year. What executive is going to do that? So the project was killed. And they made sure that, in fact, about a year after that, when we got another project, we got a letter of intent, which was to say invitation to treat. And we still didn't get the project because we had made enemies and we did build breaches. Right. So
Stakeholder management. So
stakeholder management, very important. Anyway, that's how I got into project management, work. So after I left, I joined this company, Mava, where I was a business consultant working with really a project manager. So I was implementing accounting systems, small business accounting systems at the time. And we're building small business solutions, right? So my job was requirement gathering, implementation, and supporting the internal team, ensuring that they deliver what they agreed to deliver. So I did that for a while.
Yeah.
Then while I was there, while I was still there, then I moved into another role with another company. The new role was a pre-sales role.
Okay.
And the role was essentially around working with clients, mostly banks. So working with them, it was in the core infrastructure space. It was security solutions. So firewalls, endpoint protection, and solutions in that space, right? So my job was to work with the client. So a client could say, we need a data protection solution, maybe based on whatever regulations. But most of the time, the clients don't know exactly what they need.
Yeah.
Is it a firewall that you need, really? So what are you trying to do? So my job was to sit with them to understand their requirements. Do you need an endpoint DLP, digital loss protection solution, or you actually need a network. What's your use case? What's the problem? So that required me to now learn a bit from the OEMs, So I was doing that. Then the second part was then after these deals are closed, we have done this, we have clarified. So I will run POCs with these clients, which was also a project very quickly. Then a lot of stakeholder management, a lot of engagement. Then we will then do the actual delivery if we eventually won the deal. Delivery was also part of my role as pre-sales. So I did a bit of project management there, not a whole lot in my view, because it was always, okay, sales are sold, we'll do some requirements, then delivery. Engineering was really doing most of the delivery, right? But I got into that role. So then while I was there, soft solutions, I then went back to process and I said, Shola, please, I want to write my PL. So, because I said seeing the importance of the specifications, right? And the additional knowledge it brings. So we cut a deal, and Shola is an awesome person. So Shola would it may not be relevant to this conversation, but just to balance it. Like I work with him, I let process. But when I got married, for example, Shola is that guy that says, I'm sending you a car, I'm sending you a driver. You can use my guest house for a month if you want. So it's that kind of person, generous. But when it comes to business, he's also a businessman.
Okay, like that balance.
Yeah. Shola is the guy that will say, Deji, PMP, I think at time maybe like 300K, will tell you, you're not going to get it for free. So what will you do for me? So we struck a deal, and and he gave me the training. I went through the class, then I wrote my exams. Luckily for me, I got certified, announced it at work. That was SSL. Shortly after I got certified, that was a few months after Ebola, I think. There was a project in Liberia that I'd been running before Ebola. There was a different project manager, but Ebola, I think, was for over 2 years or something. So she had moved on. So I get a call from my CEO, Fatumata. Fatumata says, yeah, we just celebrated you passed your PAP recently. Like, okay, so there's a project in Liberia. Can you handle it? I was like, yeah, I can.
Why will you not be able to?
Why would I not be? And what am I doing? For me, it looked like, an opportunity to do.
Yeah.
And of course, if you look at the journey, right, even from process, I've been managing projects all the way, even to Meiva. It was just different levels of experience.
And just so I so say that even though your job title did not say project manager,
My job,
what you were doing, you were still managing.
Yeah, it was project management.
Yeah.
So coming from Meiva, right, I'd done. Kedrick was my boss, very, very detailed. I mean, this was a guy coming from implementing solutions for refineries, for Aspen Tech. So he had done a lot for like 20 years across the world. So he's also one of the best project managers. His own issue is just that Kedrick doesn't like trading. I'm like, how do you know so much and you don't want to train? Guys, like, I don't do that, but he will coach you. So I also learned a lot working with him because planning. So, some of these things that we learn, start to finish, finish to start, all of that. Those things are theory.
Yeah.
But it was like working within that, I could now see that, oh, okay, these are the dependencies. So it's okay, mom. So I learned a lot working with him. So I was already gathering experience. So when the opportunity for Liberia came, after I took my certification, I felt I was ready to do it. So I took it, but it was a big mistake because.
Why did you say so?
I say so because, but mistakes are not bad, right? It's how you respond to them. Because sometimes we overestimate our capabilities, right? And it's also good because in setting goals, we say stretch goals, right? So it's good to overestimate your capability, but just make sure that you realize very fast where your gaps are, and then you work on closing them. So I said it was a mistake because I didn't realize, there are things we talk about like culture, right? We say those things in passing. I hear people say things like strategy, culture will eat strategy for breakfast. Those things are like, we say those things. Well, they're very true. Okay. So I pick up that role, very excited, because now I was going to walk out of Liberia. Now I was going to get per diem in dollars. And it was my first time of getting per diem in dollars. I was like, so I've been making extra money. Until I said the journal and I realized that, that per diem, you will spend it. You spend it, right? And of course, because it's not your environment as well, you spend more. You're not like the people that are from that country. But to focus on the conversation, so I got to Liberia. It was a Friday afternoon. I got in. We were the project management consultants. We had the technical consultants, the solution owners, the OEM were there. We had the infrastructure partners that were going to put in the servers, the networking, and all of that. So it was Friday. The Pakistanis, the Ghanaians, and then the Nigerians, and then we all sat down with the Liberians. And oh, welcome to Liberia. Oh yes, it's nice to meet you. I've been seeing emails. Everybody was excited.
Yeah.
Then after deliberating with the Ghanaians and the Pakistanis, we're like, okay, you know what? Today is Friday. Everybody's tired.
Yeah.
Let's take a break. But tomorrow is Saturday. Let's get these guys into a meeting and do a review of the project so that by Monday morning we can start. And this was important because it was a World Bank funded project that was already delayed. And my brief was, I think if I remember correctly, within 3 months, get phase 1 closed. Let's move to phase 2.
Okay.
There were like 5 phases on that project. So I had matching order, like we are there, like very.
Yeah.
So we then said, okay, to the director of the banking we were working with at the central bank to say, can we meet up tomorrow? Like, and have a chat. And this is talking about culture, right? And understanding different cultures. PMI encourages that we should learn to respect other cultures.
Yeah.
But respect is not like respect. Respect is understand the culture and stay on your lane.
Okay. Yeah.
And still respect the person for who they are. So we said this conversation. Everything was going well until we said we have to come tomorrow. And the director said, no, guys, I cannot come in tomorrow. And we're like, no, sir. It's not. We don't need you. And who would ask the guy? So leave us people.
Yeah.
The guy said, you guys don't understand. This is Liberia. There's a wedding on Saturday. A team member is getting married. Now, everybody you see in this room all contributed to that wedding. Let's start from there. Then everybody bought ashwebi, like we buy in Nigeria. That's the wedding.
Yeah.
The guy said, nobody can miss that wedding.
Oh wow.
And then, that was my first, because in Nigeria we're very aggressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had, up to that time, we've had situations where a whole weekend, there was a time when there was this virus, Confika, and it was eating banks. It was a worm that, gets into your servers and mess up. We're working the whole weekend. Like, in Nigeria, the way we work, nobody, we're like, okay, we have to work.
You even have the effrontery to say,
how would you tell?
have a wedding,
Then you shut down the wedding, and you begin to think that, that's the best culture, is a work ethic. Not necessarily, right? So, in fact, Liberia taught me that a bit about the balance. So people then look at
this feeling, Jane, like.
Yeah. So it was in Liberia that you tell people that this meeting is 8 o'clock. So somebody will tell you, I have to take my daughter to school. In Nigeria, nobody wants to hear that because work resumes 8, we close 5. So
should have made
provisions for that.
That's my business. I didn't want children.
But that's not you. And we're talking about culture now, right? And it's project management. But that was where I now got to learn that it's different. Labor laws are stronger here.
Okay.
It's not like here. In Liberia, you can't just fire somebody. Like I thought about a friend that he brought in a cousin's friend to work for him when things were good. He was in the logistics business. And then when commodity prices went down and his clients were not giving him business, he was like, okay, let's lay everybody up. He was coming from the US. He didn't understand the environment. The guy went to labor to report him. And labor invited him to a meeting and said, you cannot lay this person off.
Oh, wow.
So he had to pay him something every month for, I think, about 2 years. I may not be absolutely correct, but for a period of time, right? So, but that's how the environment is. I remember the CEO that came in at the time when I was there, and, we had, and I was like, this is, I can't cope with this. They cut him to size. But the guy told us, the day we met, the guy said that he has fired his driver before on his way home. That he's that kind of person that, perfectionist, he can't. The guy did something. He said he parked. He said he went to the ATM, collected it and paid him off. Like, so very intolerant for mediocrity, like we would want to call it. You're not in an environment where you say there's a meeting 8 a.m. and your team is telling you no. family is also important. We're going to do the work, but it has to balance. And then you're calling a meeting by 8 p.m. Nobody's going to show up. At some point, he will show up, right? So, but that was also part of, for me, it was part of, the shock, learning, the culture, then working with the Pakistanis, working with they were all different people. The Ghanaians work at their own pace as well. We're too aggressive. The Pakistanis, they are times two of how we work. They work, but balancing all of that, communicating. So that was also a very good experience.
Yeah, so it wasn't a mistake.
No, it wasn't a mistake. But like I said, it was about expanding very fast, into that. So then I think so that was that. I spent about I think I did about 3 or 4 years.
The project lasted for that long.
No. So what happened was after we finished the phase one, we started phase two, then there was a pause. But then there were other local banks where they had not even implemented the switch before. So there was a first project we implemented the switch, which was a Max Stripe switch. Then we had to upgrade to a proper, switch. So I did that project. So those were two projects. Then later they needed to implement MasterCard. They didn't have cards. So I did somehow. I just found out I was in like for a while, right? But of course I wasn't. It was like going and coming, but it was also very good experience. Because working with different stakeholders, you get support, and then you get understanding, because sometimes you're in front of executives, they're just talking, they're not listening to you, right? Because they don't know what you're talking about. They have their own issues, right? So that got me. So I did a lot of project management there. And then after that, when I came back to Nigeria, I think I worked with them for another year. Then I got an opportunity for a strategy and planning role.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, it's like project management.
And you wanted to do consulting at the beginning, so.
So I took up that strategy and planning role. And, life is interesting, right? So I got into that role. There were a couple of things I wanted to put together, executing the strategy, opening up a new business. So I ran all of that. Initially, it was in telco. Then I found myself doing gaming, rolling out a gaming company. And so it was interesting. Then eventually, we rolled out a fintech, right? And in fact, while I was there, so then I think that was where I now did one of the biggest projects. So while I was there, then the company won a bid to do and that was for me a good lesson in start to finish. Because a lot of times you may not have the privilege. When I say start to finish, from bidding all the way to deliver.
Okay.
Right. So the RFP came out, we responded, we came in with a partner. It was a payment service bank. When the central bank issued out payment service bank licenses in Nigeria. Okay. So it was a payment service bank, licenses were issued, and they wanted to be the first. So we got the deal, and it was a big project because the project was like building up the bank, the whole tech stack, from core banking all the way to customer facing apps, USSD and everything. So, and there was nothing, was bare ground. So that was my first, I would say program. I look at it, but it wasn't just because there were multiple projects inside of it.
Yeah.
And then most of my career, even with Meva, where I was like a business consultant and project manager managing software delivery, our approach was largely predictive.
Okay, which is waterfall.
Or serial, whatever.
Okay.
Which is like, so, but when we got on this project, then Agile was becoming a thing and all that. And that was, I would say that was first time hands-on I had to do Agile. Right.
So,
Agile.
how was the experience coming from a predictive, standpoint, and then having to change your mindset? As they say, Agile is a mindset. It's not just, a process or a methodology. And how did you, how were you able to adapt?
Okay. So first, I didn't know what I was doing.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I think that's always the way it starts, right?
Yeah.
Because first you are theoretical, you go learn, okay, this is how it works. But it was also easier for me at that point because I was a program manager, right? And it was a hybrid project. So we were torn between, we had to make a decision, right? Client says, project starts November. Client says, I want to be live by February. Like, it's impossible. You're a bank.
Sometimes when you hear this um, you're trying. This time I would say, am I in my Discord?
Remember December, everybody, there's freezing December.
That's true.
Nobody's doing anything serious in December.
Sometimes people go on leave until the middle of January.
And this project is not just, this is a project that we're depending on third parties from India to bring in their software. You know, there's a lot of planning and coordination that needs to go in. But what we did on that project, which was, that's why I said it's one of the projects I love, you know, so much, because it was an opportunity to explore, play around.
Yeah.
So client says, so we looked at the project and said, okay, client says they want to be live by February.
Yeah.
That's like 3 months. Okay, so we have to take an MVP and reach.
What can we deliver?
What can we deliver first? And not just what we can deliver first, what is important to the
Yeah.
client, right? So, and we looked at it. The client said, we want to be a digital bank.
Okay.
So we want to express ourselves, mobile app, USSD. Well, like, okay, what are the features of your mobile app? We don't know. But we want to be like, right? Okay, so what exactly? So after having those conversations, right? And not like the client was dumb, but you know the way it's like they know what they want, but they want you to figure it out and do the work. You won the RFP. You told us you already have this solution.
do it.
So you can, is that how you can do it or you can't do it, right? So, but we had to look at it, right? And then we're working with third parties. So we had to look at it and say, this is a new area. Like this bank is new. If I work 100% with the India partner and they just roll out their apps, we're going to have plenty of problems because we have to localize whatever we have. Okay. So we decided to say, you know what, we'll build a middleware, bring in the core banking, bring in all the other components. So that one is predictive. People have rolled out core banking several times, right? I got a subject matter expert who, you know, came from implementing core banking systems, lots of years of experience. So came and worked with us on the project. So for that part, we did predictive. Drew up a plan.
Okay, yeah.
And then we're able to also scope and say, so things like treasury management, we say, see, forget about that.
For now.
We just want to implement the core banking solution, have the ledger system, accounts can be created, so that by that February, that's in place. Then we said, okay, customer facing, what do we do? So we said, okay, let's just create simple products, because you can't even create products until you have your core banking in that situation, in the architecture we've had. So we said, while they're doing that, we'll do USSD to face the market, just do a simple product. And so we agreed all of that with the client. And then we said for the mobile app as well, we'll try to roll out some features in that period. So for that, we needed to have an agile stream. So we had a Scrum team that got a product manager with experience and all that, and set up a project team. So it means we had predictive and we had adaptive. Agile.
Yeah.
You know, so we were running both together. So it was a hybrid kind of project, and it was a functional organization. It was a telco. So nobody wanted to be in your stand-ups. That was your problem.
Okay.
But they still wanted to have weekly reports,
Yeah.
weekly meetings, updates. So that was a very good experience in agile or hybrid delivery. So we did that. That was also, you know, so I spent time on that project. And this is why I say to people that when you plan your projects, there are no absolutes.
Yeah.
Right.
It must be flexible.
I think it's a foolish project manager that will say, I assure you that I will deliver on this. Or I take that back. Maybe not foolish, but I would say is an inexperienced. Now, this particular project I'm talking about, we did all the planning, we had everything in place. February, COVID came.
Who would have thought?
Nobody would have thought.
Yeah.
Now, the implementation partners were out in India. We're planning their visa, planning everything.
To come to
Nigeria. We're having virtual meetings. They were looking at the environment, doing that. Then COVID started. Then lockdown started.
Oh.
So we had to review the plan. So of course, February could not happen.
Yeah.
There was no way February could happen, right? Because there were a lot of dependencies.
Yes.
Right. Or you know that, and that's where we're talking about resilience, adaptability. We walked through COVID. So we had to change the approach and work from India, give them access to the environment.
Okay.
We did all the implementation virtually. By April, we had done the first, rollout. We had done POCs, taking feedback. Eventually, I think we launched the bank by November of the next year. That was so I think COVID ended around COVID was like 3 months. I think February, March, April, thereabouts. I think from May, people started coming out again, or April, May, right? But we launched by November and it was successful. That was another very complex project. Like
And you learned something from
I learned a lot because that was more political than Liberia for me.
So what were some of the lessons that you learned in that experience?
Plenty. Okay, let's start with the politics.
Oh, okay.
Project.
Yes.
Stakeholder management. Um, if you're, if you're a project manager,
Yeah.
or even a professional, you have to learn that your stakeholders determine whether you fail or you succeed.
Yeah.
I always like to use the example of in Lagos when you're building, like buy your land you've paid, right? But they're area boys.
Yeah, that's true.
Now,
That's true.
if you ignore them,
Yeah, and be like, please, please, please.
you will
The
have
land is my yeah.
But let's go back to this particular project. This was a very complex project, and I had multiple stakeholders to deal with. And like, you are the program manager, everybody's so you are driving a whole lot of things. Now, it was a telco transitioning into a bank. Everybody that was on the team had telco experience. The few people that had banking experience were like product people,
Okay.
right? And they were very focused on their products. And I also feel that there's a possibility that between the time they left the bank and the time this new bank, there are things that have happened in the industry that they did not.
That's
Right. So, like I told you, we could see very fast that we're going to have issues, right? The risks began to pop up because you get requirements and you're like, are you sure?
I'm sure this is what you want.
This is what you want to do.
And you're like, yes.
And sure is saying yes.
Yeah.
But so we have to use the subject matter experts. When my consultant is telling me that, see, this product that these guys are designing will have issues when they go live. That because, for example, maybe you are doing a tier 2 product, but they're back. But when you're live, they're mobilizing deposits, right? So we're talking about what's your current account balance, what's your cabal. Guys saying when you get to meetings at that time, what you are doing, because there's a limit on tier 2, there's a maximum balance you can take. So you have already limited the bank in terms of potential. That's what you have to think, right? So we learn very fast. So using the normal risk management to identify our risks and then respond to those risks. So, but that was the easy part. There was also the people part. This was a huge telco. We had factions. There was a northern faction. There were different factions.
And you're in the middle of it.
And you're in the middle of it. So learning how to build the right relationships, learning how to engage. For me, I think project management is more of expectation management, helping people. So I was on that project. My CEO used to work in that environment. So my CEO naturally would come with, and it was a senior part of that team. So it means we get to meetings, there are people they will see as peers, and there's a way we would engage that people may not like, right? Now, I had to learn very fast how to go and start building bridges to say, hold on, guy, we're working together. Forget about what he said, right? And he didn't owe anyone because he wasn't the project manager. He was the executive. He wanted the project done, right? So I can't talk about a lot of details, but that was a great test, one of the greatest lessons, people management, then issue management as well, risk management. These things that we do, right? And if anybody that was on that project with me will attest to what I'm saying, it was a predictive project. So we had our regular weekly meetings, we did our risk assessment, we actually documented our risk, we actually went through the thinking, we actually brought in, and I remember before COVID happened, before the lockdown happened, first there were a few issues in China. China went through a lockdown. Then I think the UK or maybe the US. And I remember we're in a meeting like that. And we're like, what are the things that can go wrong with this project? If you remember before COVID, Teams, Zoom, those things were not, they were not.
So when ministries comes, everybody comes to the
office. But honestly, we were one of the calls and we started looking at global events, looking at external factors. We're like, what if this lockdown gets to Nigeria? How would we respond? as a project. And our response after was like, okay, we would have to move to teams, right? Okay. So the risk owner needed to ensure. So we had already set up all of that. And we never knew what was going to happen. So the moment lockdown happened, it was like stress free,
Yeah.
you know.
So good risk assessment.
Yeah, so risk management, right? That can be stressful, but
Yeah.
helped, right? And I think on that project, it was really stakeholder management, right? So now you're rolling out. I remember when we got to QA and the UATs, COVID happened. I mean, like I said, we were ready for it, and we did go live.
Oh.
Yeah, successfully, and we ended the project. Okay.
So I noticed that you have several certifications. I mean, LinkedIn doesn't even do justice to your profile, right? How would you, if people talk about, oh no, you just need the express and all that, can you talk about how important certifications are? And not just certifications, but adding value to yourself in a way that you have a documentation for it.
I think certifications are very important. I've learned that your certification doesn't make you a project manager.
Okay.
Because you can be certified, you can be very smart. Okay. However,
Yeah.
it's an important part of your journey.
Okay.
And I say that from two perspectives. So personally, in my own journey, I have had to develop myself all through the way. And most of the opportunity, like my first opportunity, major project, was because I got certified.
Yeah.
Right. I was already managing projects. I had worked with experienced people that had coached me. So I knew what to do. But the certification gave me credibility. Now, I think certifications are good. I think they're important. I look at the PMBOK framework, for example. That's over 50 years of experience that has been codified into, a certification and a framework. There's a lot to learn there, right? But it's not enough to learn. You also have to prove, right? Also prove that you have learned. I was listening to Dr. Lumide Emmanuel talking about certifications. Very interesting conversation, right? And he said that there's a book he wrote called The Book of Money or something like that. Okay. But according to him, he's been a pastor for about 35 years, thereabouts, or more. And for several years, as a pastor, he was reading books, developing himself, and teaching his team, teaching members of his church. And he said, after a while, he felt, why can't I make money with this? So, church member, I see you, yeah, this person is this. And he says, at every point, they will ask for his profile, send the profile. Once you send the profile, pastor, no. Yeah, because this is not a church. They want anointing. They don't need anointing. They pay their time. They go to church if they believe in that, right? So why do they need, to invite another pastor? When they need somebody to pray, they can invite a pastor.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of people don't even believe in, in those things. So there are people that are not Christians that don't believe in tithing, don't believe in, and, doctrinal issues. So he wasn't getting opportunities that he could have actually executed effectively. So he said he made up his mind that he would develop himself. So what did he start doing? Certifications, started taking certifications. And he said after taking some certifications, a particular one he mentioned in that video was, he said looking at, Ivy League schools.
Oh.
And saying, yeah, I'm not going to go for a full program, but I'll go for a certificate program in Harvard. It's a 6-week program, but I just need the certificate. And it doesn't mean that. It's just because it's association. I mean, like the saying goes, show me your friend and I'll tell you who you are.
Yeah.
Right? You can flip it around and say, show me your company, show me your friends, and I'll estimate where you belong because that's your crew. So he says he went to Harvard for a course like that, and he said he had written his book at that time, but he didn't publish it because he knew he didn't have credibility enough. He said so when he got to class, he gave the manuscript to his prof, And said a few days later, when the professor came to class, professor was like, Olumide, he said, I read your manuscript. Did you actually write? He said, yes, I wrote it. Said, you shouldn't be in this class. You should be teaching in this school. He said, yes, I know, sir. I should be teaching. And the guy said, you're not even humble about it. He said, yes, I know. I'm not humble about it. I've been teaching for years. I should be teaching here. But so why are you here? Because I need to associate. And according to him, because credibility is an important part of life.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll say one more story, that just, closes this out. And so he said he came back from Harvard, published his book. He said TV stations, radio stations that he had been trying to get to that would not give him the light of day just because now they say Harvard graduate, Harvard, and it's flashing. So people can look at it anyway. But see, it's the way the world works.
Yeah.
And it does not mean you are vain. Okay, what point are you proving? You have something, you need an opportunity, you're a professional, you need to have an opportunity to show up in the door.
Yeah.
But you refuse to get it because you're trying to prove that without it, I can do it. Who's going to listen to you?
Yeah, that's true.
Right? So it's important. So credibility is everything, right? So I think certifications are, and beyond credibility, I've not taken any useless certification. And what I mean is, I've played around the pinball. Solid. Best practices that you can relate with, and then you can tailor to your own need. Every year I invest in SAFE, right? I've not done the SAFE consultant because I'm not really sure I need this in Nigeria right now.
Yes.
And I think it's just, why do I want to spend that money every year? SAFE breaks down enterprise agile delivery in a way that no other framework breaks it down. Yeah, there's Nexus, there's all of that. But SAFE makes it easy. I'm a large enterprise. Okay. We have multiple agile teams running. Okay. How should we coordinate? How should we align? How do we measure? How should we structure? Makes it from small level to mid. So, why do I want to create those things? Right? When
start from scratch.
Why do I? So because those certifications help you, right, to think in a certain way.
Yeah.
So the principles, the practices, the frameworks that they have. I mean, my best framework is discipline agile for project management delivery, right? Why discipline agile? So yeah, I've looked at SAFE, I've looked at PMP, right? There's Nexus. But discipline agile is saying we're agnostic, we're independent, we don't care what framework you use. DA is saying context counts.
Yeah.
That's whether you want to use, predictive, adaptive, whatever you want to use. Discipline agile way of thinking is saying understand the context, the realities of your project. What are you trying to achieve? What kind of team do you have? What kind of experience do they have? Are they familiar with agile? Look at all of these things. Based on this, DA has now given options. Should I use Lean? Should I use Scrum? Right? Should I use predictive? So you're able to, and I really love
it means certifications apart from the credibility. It's also provides a rich learning experience. Yeah.
Because it opens up your mind to things that, why reinvent the wheel? Why not build on what I built? So the exposure is amazing. Knowledge, right, is amazing. So, and so I think certifications are good.
Yeah.
And it's also a leveler. So as a project manager, I've been in multiple conversations and sometimes you're with other professionals, you're managing for another. But once they know that you are certified, or once they see your profile, okay, so they know that at least you know. If you're not doing it, is that now your problem? But you know, right? And so I see. I think it's important. Experience has its own place.
Yeah.
Experience is everything is important, but I also think that experience is something that you continue to have every day.
Yeah.
So
sometimes I feel like, sorry to cut in, the place of your experience.
Yeah.
Also, someone might have maybe fewer years of experience, but has richer experience than you who has been doing the same thing
over and over.
Yeah.
So it broadens, and I think certifications also make you, put you at expert level. Because I have conversations today, and without any, sense of pride or arrogance, right? I always tell anybody that can listen that, see, I'm an expert, I'm a project management expert, right? Because I've invested years and I'm just only learning. So when I come into your environment, I don't care what you're saying. What I'm saying is from a good practice perspective. Now, you don't have to listen, but I know what I'm saying has been tried, it's been trusted. So you can choose to make mistakes. But at the end of the day, we'll still come back and have this conversation. So that's what certifications help you do, right? Gives you knowledge and experience.
So,
Anna, thank you very much.
we're going to have a part two of this conversation to just dive more into,
Specifics.
specifics, and also what advice you would give to people who are just coming or starting in the field of project management. I really appreciate your time. I don't take it for granted. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I hope you learned so much. I have learned a lot from this conversation, and thank you, everyone. Don't forget to like, to share, subscribe. Tell them to subscribe and to watch
Please subscribe to our channel and support the channel. I think I mean I like what you're doing, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you so much.
We all have so much that we have learned that would cage up, that can be of value.
Yeah.
So hopefully you would interview Donald Trump or Bolati.
Amen. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Best wishes. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for your time.
Bye.